Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video. In today's video we are starting a 3-part video tutorial on how to implement time inside your RPGs. So without any ado or explanation, let's get started. Alright, so in order to implement a time system inside your RPG, we're gonna need to use, you guessed it, common events. Yay! Alright, so the first thing really is we're gonna have to create a time section inside your common events. And we're gonna have one which is basically, I'm gonna call it advanced time, you can call it playtime or whatever you want to do it. It's basically the common event that's gonna take care of moving the time forward based on the frequency that you will determine. Okay, now we're gonna have a parallel process which is gonna be is time activated, because there is gonna be some instances inside your game where you don't necessarily want the time to advance, but we'll see that in another part of the video tutorials. So is time advanced? Is time activated? I'll call it this way. I like the word activated. Okay, now we're gonna need a couple of variables. So let's do this right over here. We're gonna have hours, and we're also gonna have minutes. Whoops. Minutes. Now, so little disclaimer for this video, we're gonna use a 24-hour base time for our demonstration to video tutorials. I'm gonna probably show you a quick glimpse on how you can implement your system for 12-hour basis, but works so much easier with the 24-hour base that it's just gonna be the way that I'm gonna show it to you. But implemented on a 12 hours basis is quite simple indeed. Basically all you need to do is a switch that shows AM or PM, so it's not really that hard or much more complications. All right, so now we have our hours variables, we also have our minutes variables, which is great. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add one to the value minutes inside our common events, and also we're gonna create a new condition that if the variable minutes equals 60, then we're going to set it back to 0, and we're gonna upgrade the value of the hours variable by 1. So increase 1 here, and we're gonna edit minutes. That's gonna go back to 0. All right, now we're also gonna need to have a wait per amount of time that is gonna be up to you to decide entirely how long you want to wait before a minute passes inside your game. I'm a big fan of the 1 minute 1 second in real time, so I'm just gonna wait 60 frames and before increasing minutes by 1. And so essentially we're almost done here. What we also gonna need to check is that if the variables hours is then bigger or equal to 24, actually just equal works. So if it's equal to 24, then we're gonna reset it to 0. And at inside the third-part tutorial, I'll show you exactly how we can implement the variable for days. So, and for today's video, we're gonna keep it simple. So exactly what is happening here with a second increment minute by 1. If minutes equals 60, we had hours by 1, and then reset minutes to 0. And if the hours equal 24, then it's gonna get resetted back to 0. Very, very simple and straightforward, as you can see. Alright, so now comes the fun part, because it's all good and beautiful to have them inside variables, but I want the player to be able to tell whenever what currently time it is inside our game. So in order to do this, we're gonna need to use UI, or HUD or whatever you want to call it. Basically, we're just gonna have pictures at the bottom right corner of our screen, which is gonna always show us what is the current time inside our game, which is perfectly fine. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that, okay, we already covered a quick video on pictures, so I'm not gonna repeat myself. If you've never seen it, then go watch it. But just make a quick refresh. It's important to always keep in mind that the number If there's another picture that exists with the exact same number value under the game, then it's going to override that picture with the new one. And so, in order to prevent any of those issues, we're going to need to implement a comment at the beginning of this time UI that's going to tell us what are the numbers that we use for our time UI, so that whenever we need to refer those, if we want to implement new HUD or use pictures later on inside our game, we'll know exactly which one not to use, which, trust me, it's going to come very handy. So, okay, let's put it this way for now, and we're going to fill the numbers with what exactly we're going to use when it comes time. Okay, now the first thing really that I want to check personally is what is the width and height of my actual screen, because that's what I'm gonna need to use in order to determine where I want to put my pictures inside the game. So my UI area width and height are the exact same way as the screen, which is 816 by 624. So I need to make sure that I don't go over those values. Alright, so what I did prior to this video is that I've dropped a couple of images inside my pictures folder. So if I go under my images, it should be able to see a time holder that I've put it in somewhere in there. There we go, which is called R00, and basically just a couple of images. Definitely not my best word, it's just for demonstration purposes. And this is going to hold the time in it that is currently on. So what we're gonna do is inside my picture one, it's going to be my time holder right over here that I've put inside my comment. And so what I'm gonna have to do is basically show the picture. So that one I've just selected, I've just shown you. All right. I feel like it's a bit too small, to be honest with you. I kind of run a couple of tweaks and tricks before this video, so I know exactly that if I put it at this very specific position with that scaling, it should be showing up just great. Now I also created a small event which is going to trigger my game manager as well as my time inside my game in order to show up my time UI, which the common event is going to be called not at the beginning but at the very end of the advanced time common event. So basically we update the variables, then we call the UI, which is going to take care of, based on the variables we just updated, showing off the pictures and the numbers at the correct places. So pretty standard, very straightforward. So if we just run the game as is, you're going to be able to see that there we go, we got our little image that's got shown up on the screen. And it took a little delay to do it, so I just realized that, yep, because of that I'm gonna call the time UI first, and then we're gonna update the information second. There we go, and so it shows up instantly, and we're able to see exactly our little image, and inside of it, like right below this little bar over here, we're gonna be able to tell which time, what time is it inside our game. So it's not that complicated, not that hard really to do to implement UI. And so now comes for the most incomplete, not most complicated, more like most annoying part. We're gonna need to use one picture by by digit that goes inside time. So we're gonna have one for the first digit of hours, one for the last digit of hours, then we're gonna have one for the first minute and one for the last minute. So that means that we're gonna need at least 4 more images. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do something like this, so that this will basically allow me to identify which hour specifically is selected inside that image. So essentially the place where it's X is actually the image itself. So the image 2 is gonna be the first digit of hours, the image 3 will be the second digit, and so on and so forth. Whoops, there we go. All right, now comes the most, how did I duplicate that? I don't know. All right. So now comes the most tedious task. All right. So that's not going to be an easy one. Pretty annoying. Now, technically, there's no good or bad way to do the UI. But in the past, what I used to do is put every single conditions and images inside one big common event. And with time I realized how bad it is, because if you make any mistakes, then you'll have to go back. Also, I used to do direct designation with variables, which is also terrible, because if you at the end you realize that you don't exactly like your positioning, you'd have to go back once again and fix everything. And so we're gonna need a bunch of new variables that we can use in order to make our life much easier today. So I'm gonna need a couple more of variables. So time holder, time holder position X, and you have the exact same thing for position Y, and then we're gonna have 8 more variables like this. So first our digit X, Y. All right, there we go. So we got our 10 variables, which are gonna hold the values of our positioning. So the time holder position X is going to be 642. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to designate this by variable. So there we go. Time holder position X, time holder position Y. And so basically, if I ever need to change the positioning, all I got to do is change the variables, because I'm gonna have multiple time holder because I want to change that image over here based on what is the current time inside my game. So because of that, I'm gonna need to use multiple ones based on conditions. And if I realize that at the end I'd rather move the positioning, or maybe based on the position of my character on the screen, I want to change the positioning, I can do so through the variables over here, rather than implementing new logic and conditioning that I definitely don't want to do twice, because to be honest, it's pretty long and tedious. So that's why you should always do it through variables. And position Y was 538. There we go. Okay, so I skipped a little part of the video. So essentially what I did is just I tried and made a couple of mistakes and back and forth inside my game to find the correct positioning of the digits inside the time holder. So I figured that this was good enough for this video purposes. And right over here you have the position that I've tried on the space of over 5 minutes in order to make it happen. Okay, good. Now what we can start implementing is the variables that are going to work with those pictures as well. Okay, but here's the trick now. We're not going to implement, sorry, not implement, but we're not gonna set direct constant values on those new variables. The reason to why I don't want you to set it unlike the time holder is because technically those images belongs to the time holder. Because if I ever want to change the time holder's position later on, I want the digits inside the time holder to be the exact same position based on where the time holder is. And because of that, what I'm gonna first do is that I'm gonna set it to the position of the time holder, and then I'm going to add the value relative to the time holder itself based on the value I have here. Now, I know it's a lot of complicated words from some of you, so let me just demonstrate and show you an example instead. So what I'm gonna do is write this. So my first digit is first hour digit X and Y, or set the time holder position X and Y. And what I'm gonna do essentially is that my first digit right over here, the position is 667 and X, and right over here it's 642. So now if I open my calculator and show up on the screen for you, so if we go 667 minus 642, so that's a 25 pixels difference. So what I'm going to do with position X is that I'm going to add the constant 25 to it, and I'm going to do the same with the Y. So Y position is 578 minus 538. Well, easy enough, it's 40. So we're gonna go with add constant 40 over here, and then we're going to set the variables first hour digit and first hour digit Y. Okay, good. Now if I haven't done any mistake, the result should be the exact same, which it is. Perfect. And now what I want to show you is that if I'm to move the time holder position, let's say by 40 pixels, well, let's go massive actually. Let's go with like 600 pixels to the left. So instead of 642, it's going to be 42. Because our position of the first hour is depending on the time holder position X, it means that the first digit inside the time holder should be at the exact same position relative to where the time holder actually is on the screen. And that's why you don't set constant inside of content that is inside another image. You want to refer to that image position and then apply the basically the distance between the position of this relative to where you want that new item to be. All right. So essentially what I need to do now is to apply the same logic for all of them. So let me do just that in a big fast forward. And we're done. And now, no matter where I put my time holder, it's the digits that represent the hours and the minutes inside of it are always going to follow no matter what, which is awesome. All right, so now for the next step of our time UI, we're going to need to change the time holder image, the hours, and also the minutes based on the variable that we created at the beginning, which is hours and minutes. Now, there could be, like I said earlier, a lot of conditions inside the same common event, but I feel like this common event is already getting a really big, really quick, and if I'm to add 100 condition on top of it, it's just gonna get crazy. So instead, what I'm gonna do is that we're going to create a new common event, time UI hours, and essentially what it's going to do is that the time UI is gonna call that common event, time UI hours, and we're going to have those two events over here go over there, and depending on the variable over here hours, then we're going to change the digit inside of it. So basically it's very simple over here, it's just long and tedious to do. So if hours equals 0, and then I'm gonna do like if equals 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. And now we're going to paste those things inside of those, and all we gotta do is change the, so if it's 0, then I'm gonna pick the image 0 for the first picture and 0 for the third one, so first digit, second digit. Now if it's 1, then we're gonna change that image to 1 over here. If it's 2, then we're gonna change that image for that one over here, and if it's 3, then I'm gonna change it for 3, and so on and so forth. So let me fast forward. And we're done. Good. So that's for the hours. So I got 24 conditions based on the hour. That's going to change the image at the position to reflect what particular hour we're using, which is perfect. And we're going to call that event inside the time UI, which is called inside advanced time. All right. And now what we're going to do is, once again, the exact same thing, except that it's going to be for the minutes. And instead of 24 condition, this is going to be 60. Oh god. All right, let's do this. Wait. Okay, screw this. Okay. I just got an amazing idea that I'm so dumb I didn't think about it until now. I was trying to figure out a way to make it like so much easier and faster, and I just figured it out. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new variable which is gonna be first digit minutes. Wait, let's actually create this like that, and we're gonna have second digit minutes. All right, and now here, look, watch at the trick. All right, so if you checked my variables tutorial, you know exactly what this do. Modulus, which is essentially is going to divide a number by a specific constant, and it's only gonna give you the remaining. So if I was to take my amount of minutes right over here and modulus it by 10, technically what should happen is that, let's go with 12 modulus 10, it's gonna give me 2. And if I do like 17 modulus 10, it's going to give me 7. Awesome. And because of that, because I can do this, and also if I try to divide the value by 10, then of course RPGmeter truncates, which means that let's go with 15 divided by 10 is going to give me 1.5, but actually RPGmeter is only going to give me the 1. And if I go, let's say, with 38 divided by 10, it's going to give me 3.8, but actually RPG is only going to give me 3. And I'm sure now at home you know exactly where I'm going with this. So what I'm going to do, instead of creating 60 freaking condition, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take minutes, I'm going to divide it by 10, and yeah, but actually what I need to do first is I'm going to say that like first digit minutes equals the variable minutes because I don't want to I don't want to modify my variable minutes, but I need to refer to the value in order to do this. So that's why I create 2 more variables over here. All right, and now, so first digit minutes, which is going to be, my first digit is going to be divided by 10. So it's going to give me my first digit. And then my 7-digit minute is going to be modulus by 10, which is going to give me my 2nd digit. And now all I have to do is 10 conditional branch, which is 10 or 20. 20 actually, but it's a lot less than the first one. So basically, the first digit minutes equals 0 to 9. Well, to 6 actually, because 9's never going to happen with minutes. But anyway, for per fun's sake, let's, well, no, actually 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6 is never going to happen because that's the first digit. All right, so if it's equal to 1, 2, so this way that allows me to do it with so much less conditions. Yay! And you probably can do this also with the hours. All right, let me fast forward now. All right, there we go. So instead of 60 conditions, I only got about 15. So much better, so much better. And now all I got to do is call the time UI minutes, and we should be all good. So now let's give it a try and see exactly how it looks inside the game. And right now, as we can see, the minutes are moving up quite nicely. And hopefully, if my maths are fine, there we go. And then the minutes are moving quite on perfect. And since I don't want to wait for too much long in order to see the final result, let's just change the 60 frame wait here to 2 frames. And that should pump up the number quite pretty fast. There we go. And now we got 1 minute, 2, 3, and let me fast forward this even more for you so that we can go and check what it looks like once it's time to reset the clock at 0. All right, so we're getting there. 21, 22, 23, and resets the day all over again. Great. Now the only thing really that we need to adjust is the time placeholder in order to change the image. So I'm not gonna really explain it to you how it's gonna be done. Not even sure if you're gonna use this for your own purposes, but essentially it works the exact same way as you would do with the time your UI hours and minutes, except that you do it for the placeholder. Alright, so that's already it for today's video. Make sure to like, subscribe for more content. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below inside the comment section. And as always, I'll see you later for a new video. Bye! Goodbye.